So just a word of advice to fellow YouTube movie reviewers. Don't review movies when you're on death's door with the flu, because here we are. Hey everybody, what is going on? And welcome to my revised review for Captain Marvel, which of course came out earlier this year. Now, at the time, I received an invite to a press screening, which I was really looking forward to, because despite, a lot of negative things being said about this film, I love the MCU, I'm a big fan of every movie they've brought out, and just the whole thing, the whole thing that this juggernaut is like, one of the biggest franchises in film history. I just find that all really fascinating. So I was really looking forward to the film. Now, just before the screening happened, I came down with the flu, and for those who don't know me, which is, all of you, when I get the flu, I get it really, really bad. This thing knocks me out for at least a couple of weeks. It usually takes me a month to fully get over it. So at the time I had finished with the flu, I was just coming down from it, and as a result, though, I wasn't thinking straight. It got to the point where I drove to the screening, which was about an hour away, but I even had to get my friend who was with me to drive back. I was just that out of it. I was literally sitting in an air-conditioned theater pouring with sweat at the time. Yeah, not a good look. But aside from not being a good look, it also meant that I just couldn't process the film properly, and as a result, I was really harsh on the damn thing. I gave the movie a 3 out of 10, which I've given to films in the past like Insidious, The Last Key, which was garbage. And for a long time, I honestly thought, I didn't like that movie. But then when Endgame came out, I just really loved how they used the character of Captain Marvel in that film. They didn't overuse her, and I loved Brie Larson's performance, and particularly that bit when Peter Parker has got the Infinity Gauntlet and she has that sort of sassy,
Hey, Peter Parker, got something for me?
I really loved that one line delivery, and I don't know, just everything about her I just thought was so cool. And I always thought, look, I know I was going to buy the Blu-ray when it eventually came out, which I had to wait a while because I had to order a 3D version from overseas. But yeah, I revisited the film thinking clearly, and boy, I was so wrong about it. Now look, don't get me wrong, the film still had a lot of problems. It's still not up there with the best of the MCU, but at the same time, I was really harsh giving it a 3 out of 10, and so I kind of wanted to do a revised review because that previous review, which I sat down and watched today, which, wow, I didn't look good. I really looked like a reanimated corpse during that review. But I've made a list of all the things that I criticized it on, and I kind of want to go through those again, and I just really want to revise this review, which is pretty much the first time I've ever had to do this, because usually a score I give a movie, I'm happy with that score, but yeah, this time around, it's just been nagging me. I just don't feel good that I have this review on there that is completely wrong. So here we go. So the first point that I addressed in my criticisms of the film was the intro of the movie, the opening 10 minutes or so. I found really confusing because there was a lot of time jumping, and with all of the memories that are resurfacing for the character, I found it a little confusing. Now, look, it's possible rewatching the film, having seen it before, maybe that had something to do with it, but yeah, I found no confusion this time around, and everything's explained, like the whole thing that it was all memory jumping and her memories were being altered here and there. Yeah, so that one I'm taking back. My second criticism was that the humor in the film felt forced. The lines of dialogue felt okay, but the jokes felt written. I didn't have as much of a problem with them this time around. I also had said that Nick Fury's character didn't feel right for that older version of him, like he was a bit too lighthearted and happy-go-lucky, which I will stick by that. I do think that, I know time can change a man, but yeah, I think the sort of super serious Nick Fury that we have in the later film, the later time period, I think was too far removed from that version. So while I felt the humor was okay, I will stick by what I said about Fury. I also criticized the fact that Carol Danvers was just such a serious person and constantly had this scowl on her face, and she didn't really have a lot of expression, which, meant to no charisma, but I sort of got it more this time, being that what her character has gone through, having sort of wound up on this other planet and like having her memories erased and going through being raised as a warrior. And not only that, I actually, in watching it again, I didn't think she was actually that expressionistic, if that's a word. Yeah, I actually thought Brie Larson did a pretty good job. She had some lighthearted moments. She was smiling here and there, so yeah, whatevs. At the time, I didn't feel like it felt like an MCU film. I said that the film didn't really have a soul or a heart. It probably didn't as much as some of the other MCU films. I mean, especially if you compare it to like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff. But at the same time, it definitely had a Marvel vibe this time around anyway. I felt it definitely belonged in the MCU. I felt it earned its place. I didn't think it was that soulless, really. I actually found it a fairly entertaining film. I had criticized the character connections, particularly with Carol Danvers and Maria Rambeau, her old best friend. That I'm going to stick with, because I do felt that their friendship was very forced and it was very rushed, and we didn't really have time to sort of make that connection and feel that chemistry between the two of them. So that one I will stick with. As for the other character connections though, I felt they were okay, but that best friend scenario, that could have been done better. At the time, I thought the action scenes and the fights were quite bland. Don't know what I was thinking. Well, clearly I wasn't thinking, because, I thought they were pretty good, actually. Particularly, like that fight where Danvers has got those things covering her arms. And, I really liked the fact that she was kind of wisecracking in that scene and being a bit of a smartass and stuff. I thought that was cool. I thought, the rest of the whole thing was, it was pretty cool. In my review, I said that there was no real stakes in the film. It still did feel that way when you compare it to other Marvel films where there's some huge galactic entity or whatever that wants to take over the world or the universe. When you compare it to something like Thanos, but that wasn't so much of a criticism now, because now I get that this movie was about her internal struggle. This wasn't about like a world affecting thing. This was about something that was pertaining to her character in particular, and particularly where she winds up, in Endgame. It all made sense this time. And that was another thing that I didn't actually pick up on the first time I saw it. And to be honest, even watching the Blu-ray this time, I didn't really pick up on it until I saw the deleted scenes, was that thing on Danvers' neck that, as soon as she just yanked it off and became godlike. At the time, I was kind of like, well, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? Just why didn't she do that all along? I didn't get that, all the people that raised her, essentially, after her memory loss, had told her that that was the thing that was basically giving her powers, and that was why she left it on there until she suddenly realized that it was an inhibitor. I didn't actually pick up on that the first time around, so I think I said something along the lines of how it just seemed really convenient that all of a sudden she became godlike, but no, this time around, it made a lot more sense. Now, one other criticism that I did have at the time, which I am definitely sticking with, is the way that we were bashed over the head with 90s nostalgia. That was really over the top. I thought they could have done that in a much more subtle way. But as it was, they just kept reminding us hey, we're in the 90s. Hey, we're in the 90s. You know what time period this is? It's the 90s. 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 Yeah, you get the point. Wow. That was a little bit over the top. But the big one that I had addressed at the time was that even though, I love the fact that this was such a pro-feminist film and it was inspiring little girls to dress up in superhero costumes and all that sort of thing, which I loved. And, in Endgame. I love that moment where all the girls stepped forward and had their moment. Like, I'm all for that stuff. But at the time, I had pointed out that, you know, basically all she did was fly around and punch things and blow things up, and that wasn't really, you know, a source of inspiration for women or girls to achieve things. Like, she didn't really sort of have that big hero moment. But again, it comes down to the fact that this film was about her internal struggle. And so, yeah, look, this time around, I kind of got it a little bit more. And I do apologize if, you know, anyone watched my previous review and was like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You're right. I didn't know what I was talking about because I was sick. But yeah, you know, watching it again this time around, like, as soon as she yanked that thing off and became godlike and saved the day and everything, like, yeah, I suddenly got that rush of excitement this time around. I was like, yay, go you. Yeah, I dug it a lot more this time around. So look, in closing, yeah, again, the film did have issues. I thought the cat was a little bit silly, or the flirkin, whatever it is. You know, the whole 90s nostalgia thing. I thought, yeah, some of the dialogue was a bit off. But yeah, look, overall, it definitely wasn't as bad as what I had thought it was going to be. So I am changing my score for Captain Marvel to a 7 out of 10. So look, thank you for taking the time to watch my revised review. Yeah, promise that will never happen again. And thanks to everybody at the time who, you know, got into debates with me and things like that. Yeah, I really appreciated it because I'm always open to debate. I'm always open for, you know, people to tell me another point of view which will make me change my mind perhaps. And I do remember at the time I did say to a few people, like, yeah, one day we'll watch the movie again and hopefully, you know, I'll see it with different eyes. And yeah, I sure did. So yeah, look, if you guys want to talk about it some more, pop some comments down below. Let's get another discussion going on. And yes, like I said, in future, I will definitely remember if I am too sick to see a movie. Yeah, I won't review it because I won't have seen it properly. Alrighty, so yeah, look, I'm not going to say let me know what you guys thought of Captain Marvel because you already let me know what you thought of Captain Marvel several months back. So yeah, if you, like I said, want to say anything about what I've just said, drop me some comments either here, Facebook or Twitter. All the social media links are in the description below because I like to talk about movies twice and I would love to talk about movies with you. Catch you next time.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Yeah.